My name is Brian Pillman Jr., and you're watching Dre 41 Gaming. Now, I'm a little partial to this gaming channel because 41 is my magic number. It was my number in football, and it was my father's football number. So you can bet that Brian Pillman Jr. is going to be tuning in to Dre 41 Gaming only on YouTube.
What's up, y'all? It is your boy Drake 41, aka Mr. 4K, aka Drake 41, and welcome to the Let's Talk podcast with my co-host here, Sean Styles. How you doing, man?
I'm good. What's up, everybody?
Yeah, man. So we had a little bit of a conversation just before we started recording, a little bit about the games that we're interested in, the little stimulus that we about to get.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
what we wanted to talk to you guys this week about is the three big wrestling games that's going to be coming out. I'm assuming either late this year or
I'll be
early
surprised.
next.
I'll be surprised if we get more than two of them this year. If that, I think we'll probably get the WWE one, and if we're lucky, maybe we'll get another one. But honestly, take the time you need because I don't want another broken game.
Yeah, true that, man.
Yeah.
So, like, the first one that I wanted to really talk about is the wrestling code. So, what have you seen about it? What excites you about the game? What would you like to see in it?
Yeah, so just recently I saw that Enzo Amore was doing some mocap for it. It looked like they thought they were going to have to hold off on doing the mocap, but it looks like everything's kind of on schedule to where it needs to be, and they got a pretty sweet setup. So my hopes are high, but I'm trying not to, let them become unrealistic. But I just want a game that is visually stunning but plays well. Like, you know what I mean? Something with a pickup and playability, but if you want to have the depth, it's there, and just customizable everything, like user friendly. Like if you want to do it in the game, you should be able to do it. If you see it on TV or if you see it at an independent show, especially if it's showcasing guys that are in the game, I feel like that should be available to you as a player.
No, that definitely makes sense. Like, but another thing, like, now I was thinking about is like, okay, if they're doing mocap, right? Do they have a ring? Like, where are they doing this mocapping at? Like, are they going to be?
I don't know. I know the AEW game that's doing mocap is taking place at the DDP Yoga Studio.
I don't think it's mocap.
Well, I'm sorry, you're right. It wasn't mocap. It was sound capture.
Mm-hmm.
So they were capturing sound at the DDPY studio.
Yeah.
They're taking bumps and ringing the bell, hitting the ropes, sounds of breaking tables. So they were audio capturing there. Sorry, you are right. There was not motion capture.
Yeah, like. Oh no, sorry. You go.
Oh no, it's okay. I don't know. The short clip I saw of Enzo, it looked like he was in a basement somewhere, literally. And it's funny because it says virtual basement, but it literally looked like he was in a basement somewhere in front of a computer screen. But yeah. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, for like me looking at it from the outside looking in, I want to say that I feel like they might be stacking the odds against themselves. I feel like what they want to do is be the be-all, end-all of wrestling games. And with the ideology of we're not going to come out every year, just going to be a serviceable game, and we'll make a new one whenever we need to, I feel like they want to front load the game in the very beginning, which I feel like it will help, but it can also be an issue with bugs, trying to do too much out the gate when you really have a history of.
There's no shame in coming out with a game and having it be your first game and having some issues you need to work out.
Mm-hmm.
But doing that and taking the time and realizing, okay, this is our first go around, right? Things aren't going to be perfect. Maybe we should cut back on some of the quantity and focus on the quality, and then build from that foundation. And that's what I hope ends up happening. What they're talking about sounds like it's going to be a crazy in-depth game. And like you said, they might be biting off a little bit more than they can chew, but there's some really talented people working on that game, and I'm hopeful that they're not going to release it until it's ready. Let's hope, but
yeah. So, question for you, like, as you know, as a wrestling video game fan, what's a good roster size for you from the jump?
oh man, well, I feel like we've been so spoiled. Like that's one of the things that that 2K has spoiled us with is very large rosters. But I think with that comes some repetition in everybody's move sets, right? So if you have a smaller roster, the moves that you would have to capture, you could have somebody's individual move set be a little bit more in depth and tailored to just them, because you don't need to have just a stock base of generic moves to fill in the blanks, so to speak. So roster size, I would be disappointed if it was anything less than 60. Like I think for a game 60, but then again, we're talking about indie talent. We're talking about who's available for this. So,
I mean, they were able to grab some people before they got signed to AEW. So, and they got some, I think, no, actually they had NWA talent too before that crashed. So, I mean, granted, yes, the game does have a lot of independent stars, but they definitely have some time. I mean, they got Brian Cage in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's on television every single week. So I think they got a good roster set. Do I think they have too many independent guys? Yes, but it's like, what company is going to say, oh no, yeah, you could use our guys, even though we're going to make a game. Like, I'm pretty sure AEW, they were happy that they signed the guys that's with AEW before that really got, off the ground.
Right.
So it was just a situation with like great timing. We're still able to use them.
What's the status of their contracts for guys like that were signed to the Virtual Basement game, the Wrestling Code? Are they still going to be able to appear in the game? Because I know some of the guys got pulled.
I think so. I think, who was it? I think it was like some issues with RVD or something like that.
Yeah.
But then they were still able to keep him because RVD left.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that the AEW guys are still in. I'm surprised that Brian Cage is still in it. I'm surprised that some of the women's, because Scorpio Sky's girlfriend is in it, and I forget her name, but I'm surprised they still got them. Like, maybe that contract is ironclad, and it's like, hey, as of this date, you signed on based on your character of this date, so we have the rights to utilize them.
It might be different depending on the level of talent you're talking about. For indie guys, their contracts could differ from well-established guys, and guys who have just left a big name company like WWE or something like that. Maybe a little bit different as far as like rights and availability to intellectual properties and stuff like that.
That's true too. And I mean, like, I think I feel like it's a blessing and a curse a little bit, because you're opening up this game with a roster of relative unknown. They got the I forget the guy with the Fu Manchu mustache gimmick that's in NXT. He's in the game.
Dude, so Anthony Green.
Okay.
He's a New England guy.
Okay.
I've worked out with him a few times. He's a wicked good kid, got a good head on his shoulders. And when I saw him signed for the Wrestling Code, I was psyched.
Yeah.
And then I saw that WWE picked him up, and I was like, wow, this guy's just like bucket list, checking them off one by one. But then I was like, I wonder what's going to happen if he's going to be able to still appear in the game. And I'm wondering where in the game he was appearing as Anthony Green, and in WWE he's known as somebody else. If they're still going to allow that.
See, that's the real lawyer, technical terms and all, because it's like, intellectual property, but that's not the same guy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not the same gimmick. It's not the same name, even though they are the same person. Does that count? You know what I'm saying? And I think that WWE really doesn't pay attention to everything,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to other video games and things of that nature. They're in a bubble, so I
Yeah.
think like he'll be able to get past to be in that game.
Yeah.
I think after it comes out, let's see he's playing it somewhere, and they're like, "Wait a minute, like you're in a video game?" Like, yeah,
Yeah, like it after
yeah,
the
and then
fact.
it's like cease and desist, take him out,
Yeah.
take him out
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
But I'm excited about it because they don't have any like anything holding them to this is what should be in it, this
Right.
won't be in it. They have the freedom to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, and once again, that's a bad thing because it's like, what if it's like a specific match that they're trying to add to it that's never been in the wrestling game? How do you program it?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you put it in? Like,
yeah, you got nothing in the past to kind of pull from. You kind of have to work from the ground up.
yeah, and that's we get so hungry for these type of games. It's like we want them out. You show us a trailer, we want it out a year from now.
Yeah.
We'll give you a good year, and then we get pissed off. Just like Retromania.
Yeah.
We waited more than a year.
Oh yeah, dude, that game was in development for a while.
Yeah, and then they kept pushing it back, and then you kind of lose steam.
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen for
I know.
the code,
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like
that's getting a release on PC too, or is it just the consoles?
what retro?
No, the wrestling code.
Oh, wrestling code is on next gen and PC.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I have to get next gen. I have no choice.
I know. If I could find one,
I think I'm not too worried about it right now. I feel like when the better games come out for next gen, there'll be more than enough consoles ready. And I'm pretty sure by Christmas time, they'll have enough consoles built to where it's like, okay, we'll be good.
Yeah, you'll actually be able to get them in stores.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, with the wrestling code, I would say they are stacking the odds against themselves, but they have the freedom to add, take out, update whatever they want. And that's always a good thing. And then we get new talent that we never got to use in the video game that we don't have to create. So I really feel like that will be a good thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
they have an opportunity to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. So with that comes great responsibility, but it also has great risk, right? Because you're kind of in uncharted territories where there's usually a format to follow. But if you're trying to kind of be something brand new and stand on your own 2 feet, you want to be different.
True.
So
question for you: what match would you like to see that you have not seen in a wrestling game in the wrestling code?
Man, like ever or just in a long time?
I mean, it could be something in a previous wrestling game that's been taken out.
Man, I would love to see like a proper casket match, like with the casket at ringside. It's funny in I think it was 2K15. There was a segment, and I forget who it was with, but was it Sean and Hunter?
Yeah.
And in that storyline, one of them was in a casket match with Kane. I think it was Triple H, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they had the mini game in the story mode, but they didn't have it in like exhibition. And to me, that baffles me, because if you have the engine and the ability to play it in a match, why aren't you making it available? So I like old school ideas like that. I would love, it'd be cool, man. Old school like NWA scaffolding matches. Like, you remember that one with the Midnight Express?
Yeah.
Yes, dude, that would be kind of dope. Infernal matches would be cool. Ambulance matches, falls count anywhere, but truly falls count anywhere, meaning like I want to be able to go. I don't want to just be able to go backstage. I want to be able to go outside the arena. You remember in SmackDown Here Comes the Pain? Shut your mouth. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly. New York, throw them off the building. It's fine.
Freedom, baby, freedom. That's what we need.
Grab a hubcap, frisbee it at them. All sorts of nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, I would say, like, for me, the one type of matchup that I would love to see in the wrestling code, it's a couple, but it's only because I just seen it, and I've been kind of binge watching a lot of these matches. But the exploding barbed wire death match, I would love to see, like, just the ability to have that type of match, and that's in any wrestling game, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, no, not because WWE will never get that.
No, they won't touch it. They won't touch it.
But the exploding barbed wire match.
Yeah.
I would love to, like you were saying, the false count anywhere, go anywhere in the building, outside the building. We got to get that back because we
Yeah.
had the same backstage in WWE games for what 5, 6 years
Yeah.
already. Like
Yeah.
it's
One
played.
thing I'm really hopeful for with the wrestling code is I think we're going to get a pretty good variety of venues.
Mm.
I think because, you know, when you think about what they're doing, I mean, independents run shows anywhere from a VFW all the way up to state colleges, right? So you could have anything in between. You know, you could do a fairgrounds, you could do a VFW, a high school, gymnasium, a college, you know. There's so many options there, whereas WWE is always just in their WWE arena. Yeah, and they're pretty, once they put up their set, they're pretty generic looking, you know, they're pretty cookie cutter with what they do.
Yeah.
But with the wrestling code, they got some freedom there to kind of give you, like, make you feel like, hey, this is an indie show. It's kind of gritty. It's kind of dirty. The lighting isn't that great. Like, you know what I mean? And then production value goes up in some of the nicer shows. So I'm looking for attention to detail like that. I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. The one thing that I think we might have to accept, which I don't even mind, is let's say that they do have like different arenas or whatever, or like even WWE did it when they have Corrigan Hall or the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah.
Or, the Hammerstein Ballroom. They don't, give it the official name. I don't even care. It doesn't have to have the official name. Just give it to us. Just give us the arena. We can tell what it is. It's fine.
Yeah.
You could just put Arena 1, Arena 2. It's fine. We know what it is.
One thing that's beautiful about the EA fighting games, like UFC and stuff like that, they have actually named arenas, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And
they're the only ones with the rights to
they look photorealistic. So
yeah.
it would be cool to see that, to see some some real life arenas in there.
But they got to pay for that stuff. I don't know if Virtual Basement wants to pay for all that. I mean, like I said, as long as it looks the part.
I mean, you get that generic Madison Square Garden arena in the WWE games that that's what they're trying to portray, but it's not. And different length aisles. Bro, if you got a WrestleMania arena, that needs to be a long walk. If you got an indie arena or Madison Square Garden from Survivor Series 96 or all the old school events when they didn't have the stage and they were coming out that short gateway, I think that adds to something to it too.
And I think that would be easy to do. And I say why, like let's say if they cut up the entrances like they do in the WWE games, right? Let's say for the longer entrances, they could just put like a generic walk, like 6 different generic walks, like 3 for women, 3 for guys. One if they're just a stoic, one if they're a little bit weird, or you know what I'm saying, but different ones to match up with the characters. So just in case it's a longer walkway or a shorter walkway, they have an entrance that matches with it. And I think that
exactly. That was going to be my other thing to say is, with the different length entrances, you have to think, well, okay, are they going to have to mocap different entrances, or can they somehow, they used to cut to the crowd, if they didn't have it, to kind of make up those spaces where they would have to increase the time. But
that works too. That just cut to the crowd. It's fine. We understand.
Yeah.
Also I was playing not King of Coliseum. I was playing Wrestle Kingdom 1, and they have one where they're just walking. They don't do anything too crazy. They just walk out stoically, and they cut to the crowd sometimes, and then they're right closer to the ring. They get on the apron, whatever the case is. So yeah, I think that would work. I think that would be the best bet. Like I said, I overall think the wrestling code has a great chance of being one of the best wrestling games we ever played in the last 10 years, mainly because they have no one telling them what can or cannot be in the game. It's up to the programmers to get it done. Right. And because because they're new, that's the one thing I kind of worry about a little bit, is just how the gameplay is going to be, But
you got to think for them too. A lot of these guys, this is a passion project to them. This is guys who, like you said, are new, so they're hungry. They're trying to get their feet wet, and they're passionate about it, and they're not burnt out. How long have the guys at 2K or Ukes left because of that, because of the burnout, because they were like, we need to do something different. So you have this fresh set of eyes and these fresh minds on there with people who are super passionate about wrestling and video games. And I mean, only good stuff can come from that. Like,
that's true. That's very true. So we have one game where They have all the freedom in the world. Now
Yeah.
we're going to go to a game who has not so much, and the developers didn't do a good job at the last go around. We are going to talk about WWE 2K22. Show of hands, who is going to pre-order the game?
You need to put cricket sounds right there in the video.
I will. I'm gonna put cricket sounds. It's gonna be great. But I'm not interested. Because I'm a wrestling fan and I'm a mark, I'm going to buy it. I'm not going to pre-order it.
And that's what they're counting on, man.
Yeah.
You know?
They've been very quiet. Very quiet. I mean, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's a bad thing. You know, they really start, doing their thing around WrestleMania time. So I think like there was some words around the campfire that, they're taking photos of wrestlers and things like that, like at this point in time.
I actually just saw a video today that TJP was doing some mocap for them.
That might be an old video, but he might be doing mocap though.
I think he actually just tweeted about it too. Like he was.
Some people debunked it and said it was from like 15. Like,
maybe it is. Maybe it is.
I mean, but maybe he's doing currently, but he can't show what he's doing right now. So
I think so. But
yeah,
I'm not gonna hold my breath. You know what I mean? Like you said, I'm probably gonna get it. I got 2K20, but I got 2K20 when it was $17 for the deluxe edition. So you know what I mean? Like I got it, but I didn't pay full price for it.
I did.
Yeah.
Boy, was it a waste.
Well, let me. I paid full price for the pre-order, and it was so bad, Sony refunded me, and then I bought it when it was $17. So I did originally pay full price for it, but that was without having played it first.
Yeah. No, and you know what? 20 burnt so many fans. Where I think all of us are like, we have to see something ahead of time. Like seriously, like I'm not. The only way I think I can ever pre-order a WWE game ever again is if number one, reviews come out first. I get to see gameplay and not like some nonsense put together.
Well, they offer a demo with 4 guys in 1 match type, and you can play.
Yeah, that's
why
what they
should not. If you got nothing to hide and you're not ashamed, why aren't you offering this?
Yo, they used to do that.
I know. I'm trying to think. Like I think it was SmackDown vs. Raw 2010 or 9.
I think it's the ECW one, the one where
and it was like there was like 4 guys you could do, and it was exhibition, but you would get a feel for what you were buying.
Exactly.
And I think that's missing. And it's not just in wrestling games now. I mean, there's a lot of games that have kind of stopped doing demos, but for the most part, you get to play betas and stuff like that. That's kind of really the new jam is betas and getting to do some testing when you get those codes and give feedback, which is really nice as someone in the community to be able to do that.
True. And I think they really need to implement the community more than what they did beforehand. I think I know, that, whenever, anytime they bring out YouTubers, I know they sign those NDAs, they can't say anything, but honestly, I think now there has to, if they're confident in their abilities to program this game now, after 2 years, they should not have these YouTubers sign NDAs and let them say, hey, this is what I've seen.
This is what I'm saying. They should have their own testers be testing this game before they even invite YouTubers out. So then when YouTubers come out, they're not the ones saying, have you played this yet? Do you know what I mean? Like that should be ironed out. Maybe there's a few things that get caught here and there, and that's why you get some fresh eyes in. But I mean, you're essentially inviting the public to come see something that you've worked hard on. You'd want to make sure it's I wouldn't invite someone over my house if my house was a mess. That's true. Right?
That's true.
You just don't do that.
But I feel like with that game, I can't say it's a passion project. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's difficult for me to be behind a developer whose first attempt was terrible. I don't even know if they're really wrestling fans or if they're just, this is just a product we own. We got the license to, so let's make some money. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like I worry about the controls. I worry about the look. I'm not too worried about because 2K is,
it's decent for what it is. It's decent. Yeah. I honestly 2K19 looked pretty good, man. I think 2K19 was probably their best outing as far as a complete game that they put together, as far as gameplay, graphics, and what they included in it. But
yeah, matches. That's what I'm worried about too,
yeah,
because the only thing 20 added that we didn't have before was the intergender tag team match. And that's it. Now, here's what we have seen on WWE TV. We have seen Baron Corbin hit Becky Lynch for the end of days. We have seen that French black dude on SmackDown being matches against women. If we do not have intergender matches,
yep,
one-on-one matches, open it up. Honestly,
right,
what's the we had it before. Stop acting like it's a big deal.
And then you had I don't know if it was it 18 Nia Jax ended up in the men's Royal Rumble, or was it?
Yeah.
So
Like,
and
what's the problem?
not only that, with the way it's funny because it's going to touch on a sensitive subject, but equality for women and whatnot. This is a very important subject. It's a very sensitive subject, and I don't condone violence towards women or anybody, but is there an underlying message that women can't compete against men? Because you're worried about intergender tag teams or intergender matches and promoting violence against women, but at the same time, are you saying that a woman couldn't compete against a man? So, I think it's just a crutch that they lean on. They just don't want to do it. I think they don't want to touch it.
Yeah. I don't understand what the sensitivity is about it, honestly, because it's like, it's not Mortal Kombat. You're not, ripping through a woman's chest, ripping her heart out, throwing her on the ground. It's not Tekken. It's, you know what I'm saying? Like, there has been more than enough games where men faced off with women and more dire situations than just a wrestling match. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. You don't want to have them busted open, bleeding and stuff like that. I get it.
In 2K20, the first time China was in a game since 1999, and you have a woman who was in the Royal Rumble, King of the Ring, Intercontinental Champion, and she can only compete against other women. I think that doesn't live up to her legacy for what she did. So it's like you're handicapping people when you do that.
I mean, think about it. The Dudley Boys was putting women through tables.
Mae Young and Moolah, not just women, but the elderly. Let's be
right, all day, every day.
Yeah.
So it's just like, open it back up to the way it was. You owe it to the fan. Like, you owe it to, like, that should be something that they should be really pushing for. And honestly, there's really nobody that stands out for WWE2K that we can communicate to as, I mean, what's his name?
Patrick Gilmore.
He's not responding to nobody really. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
I think that was a very quick honeymoon period where he was interacting with people and getting back to people. I mean, I see him pop up on Twitter here and there, but it's usually with the same like 4 people that I see him responding to and stuff. So
because WWE, 2K, they only respond to certain people. We're not going to do that though. So as far as the WWE 2K series goes, the next outing that they put out
is do or die, man. This is it.
Like, I'm telling you, like, this is the make or break, because you already screwed us over once. So now it's a situation where you are going to have to go all out if you do not. This might be the last time I buy a WWE game.
Not only that, bro, but we got options now, right?
Exactly.
We got a lineup, right? Exactly. We don't need to play your game.
Exactly. That's what they need to understand, is we got options now. We don't have to get stuck with you. Like, they're used to that. Just like how Madden is
being the only game in town, then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, they better have that understanding, man. That there's other people coming for that spot. It is, and even to a better point, the AEW, they got this game coming out, and people are excited about that. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think that's if there's any game that Visual Concepts for the WWE brand is looking at, they're looking at this AEW game, and I would hope that it worries them. But like, like, what do you think about the AEW game based on what you've seen? Like, how do you feel about it?
I'm a big fan of, when I think of wrestling, the wrestling for me, was always a larger than life thing. It was something that I was always in awe of, and I was always just like amazed and just like these people were like superheroes to me, right?
Yeah.
So when I see graphics like I see for the AEW game, that might piss off a lot of people who are, fan of simulation style games and graphics, but I love it, man, because it brings me back to when I was a kid. It brings me back to like these guys are just larger than life. It's fun. Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be nice and fast paced, and I think there's gonna be a good balance of arcade and simulation style gameplay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you've heard anything that Kenny Omega has said or Cody has said about the game, man, they were fans of the Aki games. They were fans of the SmackDown versus Raw, the SmackDown Here Comes the Pains. They know what we want because they want the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for them, this is definitely a passion project.
Yeah. But see, now I feel like the AEW game has almost the same like carte blanche that the wrestling code has.
Yeah.
And I think it's because AEW is so young and
Yeah.
that Kenny Omega wants this to be the very best wrestling game. Now,
Yeah.
here's the problem with that. You're chasing a rose-tinted dream. As much as we remember and I play the Aki games, I still do to this day, but it's not perfect. It is
Right,
not
of course.
a perfect wrestling game. It has some great features that we never seen ever again.
Yeah.
But you got to remember that after the Aki games came out, we considered Here Comes the Pain and Shut Your Mouth to be the be-all end-all.
Right.
Those were a lot faster paced games.
Yeah.
I would say a marriage of both of those styles is
Yeah.
difficult. Both of those games came out over 20 years ago. We haven't
It's
seen
kind of like mixing apples and oranges and wanting, you know what I mean? So
exactly. And
yeah.
I don't want to sound negative about it, but they have to choose one direction to go into. And I think because the televised style of what you see in an AEW match does not go hand in hand with the Aki engine game.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Here Comes the Pain, Shut Your Mouth. Also on the selling. The selling in the Aki games is not reflective of what you see on AEW at all.
No.
They do not sell to save their lives in that on that show. They don't.
I know.
So it's like I would say, Here Comes the Pain, Shut Your Mouth.
Yeah.
Give us that. Give us the in-depth create or features that the Aki engine gives, like what moves they will perform in the ring. What moves will knock somebody out, what moves will injure somebody. Something like that. Add those little technical pieces into the AEW game, but don't sit there and sell me a dream on the Aki engine type of game when what I see on your television show doesn't reflect that style. Yeah. Kenny Omega doesn't wrestle like he's a 250-pound, stoic Japanese wrestler. He doesn't. He's speed. He's high flying,
high impact.
It doesn't match up.
Yeah.
Name somebody on the AEW roster who wrestles like that. You can't really.
Right.
Everybody has a hybrid style. Like you are not going to find anybody who's like except Big Show or Paul White. That's it.
Yeah. Well, that's to me when the debate of pro wrestling and sports entertainment comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
The athletes on the roster of AEW are sports entertainers. They are athletic. They are quick. Mm-hmm. They are crisp. But is what they're doing really professional wrestling?
And what sort of aspect? I mean, like, are you considering
when you're talking about the pace of the match, you're talking about they're not selling. If you're not selling, you're not invoking emotion. If you're not invoking emotion, the psychology's dead, right?
That's true.
So when I say professional wrestling to me is a match that takes you on a roller coaster ride of emotions. It brings you someone you love versus someone you hate, and it pulls at your heartstrings a little bit, gets you on the edge of your seat when you think the person you like's not really doing so hot and he's getting beat on and beat on and beat on, and that facial expression is just, oh man, you get that sympathy for him because they slow down, they take the time to sell, and it registers with your emotions.
That
I
makes
think the speed of the athleticism that is displayed on AEW doesn't allow for that. And it's not, maybe that's not what they're going for, and that's okay. But to me, that's the difference between sports entertainment and wrestling is professional wrestling has that deep psychology aspect where it's a little slower, it's a little more methodical, and maybe it's slightly less athletic, but I feel like it's purposeful.
Okay, so with that argument, do you think that all action movies can be under one genre? Could it be romantic action? Can it be horror action? It could be the same thing with professional wrestling. We can get those movies where you go to and it's like you got a thought process and you got to, oh, wait a minute, did you miss that in the movie? Or you can watch Commando where you turn your brain off and you're just entertained.
Right.
So do you so with that in mind, can it still be wrestling but just a different genre?
Yeah, I guess that's a fair assessment. That's a fair thing to say.
You know,
I mean, bottom line, professional wrestling is entertainment, right?
Yeah.
That's why they're there. They're there to draw a crowd. They're there to perform. They're there to entertain.
Mhm.
And I guess I get caught up. I'm an old school guy. Like I like the slower matches, and like I don't need super athletic guys. Like I was watching a match. I don't know what WrestleMania was, but it was DiBiase and Beefcake. Now, Beefcake was not one of the most athletic guys in the world, and he didn't do much, but he knew how to work that crowd, bro. I mean, it was cool. And then you get guys who, like Brett and Sean, now you're starting to get to the middle of the road, right? Where they implement that psychology, but they ramp up the pace. They're still selling. They're adding some high flying maneuvers and stuff like that. And then you go on to complete just like spots with no psychology. And then there's the whole hardcore aspect of it. Wrestling, like that's a whole different demographic. People love that. There's an audience for that. I hate it, but it's over with certain people and certain crowds. So
yeah, that is true. Like, I mean, I would say for me that personally, I see it all as entertainment, but at the same time, it's like, think about it. And this is not coming at the defense of nobody, and I can't argue the case against the guy who was actually in the business, learned it and understands it, way more than I do. So that's 100% credit.
And dude, I know nothing. I'm a baby. I was in the business for 9 years, but I feel like in that 9 years, I probably didn't even scratch the surface.
But you were trained. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you were on the end as opposed to the outside looking in.
Yeah.
But I would say to the detriment of AEW, a good portion of those guys never had to do any of that stuff that WWE does because they were always on the independent circuit, where storylines just kind of, if they could, cool.
Yeah.
But you're going out there for one night, entertain those fans, sell that merch, and go to the next town.
And how do you do that? You leave a lasting impression by doing wow things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's just evolution.
Mm-hmm.
It's like anything, things change, the demand changes, the wants of the audience change, and you just got to roll with the punches, or no pun intended, but evolution will pass you by. Like, you know what I mean? You will kind of fall into the shadows of the background if you don't stay relevant, and that's just the direction that the business has gone in.
That's very true. Like, so, like with the AEW game, then it's what would you like to see as far as gameplay goes? If since this being created by youth, where would you like youth to go in order for you to say,
I would like them to tap back into their roots, to tap back into their PS2 days and their SmackDown versus Raw days, and let that inspire them, not direct like hard copy, but inspire them the way that they're going to develop this game. Take the elements that were fun about that game and see how they can apply them to today's market. How can they apply it to a wrestling video game that is coming out in 2021, in an industry where things haven't that aren't slow like they used to be. So it would make sense. It would make sense for them to pick up the pace a little bit. You know, have that fast, frenetic energy of boom, 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 and kind of being able to, you know, hit sequences and chain them together. Being able to do that, like without it being a quick time event. I don't know how they would do it if it would work like a combo or something. But if you could chain sequences together in a way that was fluid, that's never been done in a wrestling video game before, really. I mean, there's some spots with like the quick time events in like the chain wrestling and stuff like that. And honestly, some of the reversals in the WWE games now are more than just, hey, this guy's kicking you off. It'll end up into like a small sequence. But I think being able, especially for AEW, where those guys work at such a fast pace, and they're just going, being able to replicate that in the game, to me, is going to be key to them being authentic to what they show you on TV.
Okay. I mean, in a perfect world, I would love to see, it would have to be Shut Your Mouth or Here Comes the Pain. Like, it would have to be the gameplay of that mixed with the technical CPU of Fire Pro and the chaos of the, Here Comes the Pain, Shut Your Mouth. Yeah. It has to be, because when I look at the AEW roster, I see, and this is not to belittle them, but I see independent stars on the main stage. Let's showcase that. Yeah. WWE has this thing. They're over here. They're doing their thing. Great. They have their style, simulation style, which I'm pretty sure that's what we're going to get. Let's just, if we're going to do it, let's go all the way out. Like, even in the trailer, right? You see like sparks flying, sort of like what we see in Tekken. Listen, we got options. Let's not have everything be exactly the same, because then all we're getting is a skinned over version of the same games 3 different
times. You're getting a repaint. That's it.
Yeah, and let's pass that. Yeah. AEW, go all the way left.
Yeah.
You're gonna either fly to be different.
Bold. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sink or swim.
Exactly. So if you got to bring back the old Aki engine, not Aki, I'm sorry. If you got to bring back the old like Ukes, like
engine,
you know what I'm saying? Do it.
Yeah.
Have fun with it. Go all the way out. I play those games now to this day, and they're still fun.
They aged very well, I think. And honestly, if you're playing Here Comes the Pain on like an old school TV, that game holds up. The graphics aren't bad. You know, if you're playing like this guy, what was his name? He did like an ultimate edition of Here Comes the Pain, and it had,
I know he's the dude with the box cut.
And it's like full high def, like it looks insane.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it looks insane.
But like, so for me, I'm not worried, honestly, about the AEW game. Because they're starting fresh. They're starting, brand new. And what makes this thing like kind of difficult is because I had this interview with Brian Williams that I had to take down. Thank you, Ukes. Basically they had to start all over. Like that engine that they were doing with 2K, that's 2K's. They can't even mess with it. And because they were doing sound, this is my opinion, that they're not doing mocap. I think they're animating all the moves, which is great.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened with Here Comes the Pain. Didn't they just animate all the moves? And everybody's move looked the way the guys did them.
Yes.
Benoit's clothesline was different than Triple H's clothesline.
I don't know who that is.
I don't know either. I'm sorry. Edge's clothesline was different than Triple H's clothesline. Different Canadian. We'll switch them out. Mm-hmm. But it felt like when you were playing that game, you were playing as the person
Yes.
selected.
Character specific moves, even the most like Goldust had a damn snap mirror where he snap mirrors.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
the snap mirror.
And, I mean, and no offense, but the guys who are doing mocap for these are probably smaller guys, and their body and impact that they have is not going to be the same. You can't have a guy like TJP mocap in a clothesline for someone like Brock Lesnar.
It won't work.
It's not, no, like, you know what I mean? Like, you need authenticity, and sometimes that comes with hand creating it to look the part.
That's true. That's very true. It only makes sense. I mean, overall, I feel like the AEW games is in good hands. I'm just afraid that we might get a bare bones version of the game, and I'm hoping. I'm hoping that they do not come out with the every year release. I hope.
Yeah, I think you're shooting yourself in the foot before you even start by doing that, because you're gonna have so much feedback after this first game. Your head's gonna spin. And if you have to focus on trying to get another game out, because let's face it, if they were gonna do that before this game even comes out, they're gonna have already started working on the next one.
True.
And that means that this game didn't get all the attention it needed until it launched. It got rushed out the door so that they could start on the next one. And that's just shooting yourself in the foot.
That is true. But let's go on to another game. I don't know how much you've seen of this, but Ultra Violence Wrestling. That game right there, and let me just pull it up because I want to make sure
that's the one with like the ragdoll physics, right? Where the guy was on like 20 tables, and when he felt like the physics looked pretty impressive. I know, like in one of the most recent clips, there was some like clipping when the guy was hitting the ropes and stuff like that. But overall, it looks like it might be something kind of fun.
Yeah. Now with that one, because I also interviewed him as well. Shout outs to me. It's going to be a one-on-one game, and that's it. There won't be a three-way, four-way. I don't believe. I think he was telling me at the time, and he might have changed it. Where it's going to be like 8 players. I don't know if Creator Wrestler is going to be in there. I'm on their Discord, but I don't really like, because it's too many notifications. Everybody's saying too much. It's too much.
Yeah.
So, I would love to see for that game, and I know that it's based around hardcore wrestling, which I'm fine with. We need as many options as we can get.
Absolutely.
I don't mind.
Yeah.
With this one, I want to see. I know this is going to sound bad. I need to see the blood. I need to see the gore. Like, if you're going to go in on hardcore, go in.
And if you're only offering a one-on-one game, that game needs to have beef, right? That needs to, cannot be bare bones, because your option for the contests are one-on-one. What can you do within that one-on-one structure? You can do hardcore. You could do, like crazy. I seen the thing where all the light bulbs were stacked up. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And the variety within the one-on-one matches is where it's going to be key. How deep are they going to go? Because honestly, I think you could be successful with just having a one-on-one game if your concept is well-rounded enough within the construct of that one-on-one match. Like, what's the variety you're going to offer?
And that definitely makes sense, because like the one thing that you always want to look at, especially when this is what they're doing. They're more or less pigeonholing themselves just with one match.
Yeah.
Here's one gimmick. Here's one match. Here's a game built around that.
Yeah.
What can you do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I feel like in order for that game to have longevity, I feel like there has to be, number one, a story mode. It doesn't have to be voiceover.
Right.
It doesn't have to do all that. But you have to give us more than what you're initially offering, which is a lot. And it's great. You got these weapons. He's doing Orlando, like some place that like creates wrestling weapons.
What?
I don't know. It's weird, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you have to add so much more. There has to be like a storyline where you're like backyard.
Yep.
Then like someone hits you up, you want to do a hardcore match. Great. Then you do like King of the Death match. Then you do another tournament where it's a scaffold tournament or an Inferno match or something. There has to be so much more to it, especially when you're stuck with one-on-one.
Right.
I would say it will be a miracle. And I'm not trying to be negative, like I'm behind them 110%.
Right.
But it will be a miracle to pull off a game where it's just one-on-one in one type of match. And that's
yeah. I mean, I don't know that would be possible.
Yeah.
That's a mountain I wouldn't want to climb.
But you know what? Me speaking to him, he's so behind it. And when somebody has that conviction, it's like you gotta root for them. And I don't want
absolutely.
You know, like, and the last thing I ever want, you know, is to have one less of an option because they say to themselves, oh, what am I doing trying to put a game together with one match? Do it and go all out. But you
know, this just made me think, you know, one of the most successful or fighting games out there is like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. And that was based off of a one-on-one match, not doing anything. But with the right story, the right roster, the right team behind it, the right passion, it was successful. So it is doable. I mean, granted, it's a fighting game. It's not a wrestling game. But the concept of having a game based on just one-on-one encounters, it's not really new, right? But for a wrestling game, it's new.
Yeah, it definitely is. Like, I feel like, and eventually I would love to have him on this podcast with us.
Yeah.
I think we could possibly do. I'll find out. We'll see. I feel like he has the right idea with the hardcore aspect. I think it's going to be different stages. Like, it has to be so feature heavy that we forget that it's just one-on-one matches. He might have changed it. I don't know yet. I haven't spoken to him like that since our last interview. But it will have to be so feature heavy that our minds just don't even communicate the fact that it's just one-on-one matches that we're having. I would love to see. I can't wait to see this game on Steam because I told him I'm buying it.
Right.
Like, I told him, like, I'm getting it, even though my laptop.
I think a lot of people are going to be jumping at these games, man. We're so hungry for something different. It doesn't even have to be good. Like, it's like, I just want something that I haven't been playing for the last 10 years.
That's true.
Know?
Yeah.
But like you said, if they can get a story mode in there, it doesn't have to be voice acted. Look at one of the most beloved games we have, No Mercy. That story mode was all text based. You know, there was no voiceovers, and people loved that game.
So a little bit of music, we're good.
Yep. So it's doable. It's doable if they take the time to pay attention to detail and make the depth of what they're offering within that one-on-one setting.
Yeah, like another thing that they were showing on Twitter was they had like those little, I don't know, like those little wooden sticks they jam into somebody's head and then it like blossoms out when they let it go. I forget what those things are. Yeah, it's some wild stuff.
It's called Dangerous. That's what it's called.
Yeah, like I'm really intrigued to see if they were if they were able to add a Zandig. Do you know who that is?
No.
John Zandig?
No.
Amazing. You gotta watch one of his promos on YouTube.
Oh man.
He literally threatens murder against one.
You know what I was just thinking, and I don't know what kind of budget they have, but there is a deep talent pool of ECW alumni that's never had a WWE contract that could get some notoriety to that roster or game that if they're willing to offer or work out a deal with people, maybe not even for this installment, maybe for the next installment or DLC, just something to add a little bit more appeal to the mass hardcore fans who are familiar with like FMW or ECW and stuff like that. Do you know what type of a roster they're having? Is it a roster full of guys that are from specific promotions?
So with the initial interview, I know it's like Sick Nick Mondo.
Okay, yeah.
Damn, even with the previews, they're not really showing anybody.
Yeah.
I think that was like the only guy that was informed to me. And like,
I'm all about fictional characters, man. Like I don't mind that at all.
yeah,
You know, I in 2018, I ended up making a whole roster on 2K 18 and it was a whole fictional thing. I had a blast. Like I was doing universe with them and everything. But I don't mind fictional characters, but having just maybe a few actual people sprinkled in there to add some draw power,
true, true.
would be a good call.
That would be. I'm not so. I need to ask him because what we should also do is do podcasts specific to each wrestling game, just in depth
Yeah.
everything, and
Yeah.
eventually we'll get to that. But I'm gonna ask him about that because like learning about who's in the roster, even though that's honestly not a selling point. Like for this type of game, I don't necessarily need to know who's in the roster because I know for a fact because I don't watch hardcore wrestling too much. I'm not saying that I'm not a fan. I will
Right.
watch some nonsense all day.
Yeah.
But I for me because I know I don't know who they are,
Right.
I'm going strictly off of gameplay and the look.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Exactly. The gameplay's got to be there, especially when it's something that you're not really familiar with. Otherwise, why are you going to play it?
exactly. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm running with 110%. I need
Yeah.
to see that gameplay. I need to see what I can do. I need to see who I can maim and hurt, and I'm
Yeah.
cool. They got the barbed wire. They
Yeah.
got the light tubes. We need a cinder block or two.
This game needs to be very heavy on environmental interaction.
Yes.
Because let's face it, in these type of matches, there's not too many wrestling moves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the animations with objects has to be crisp. The ability to interact with your environment needs to be deep. You
Mm-hmm.
need to be able to have the ability to go grab something if it's there, to use it.
Yep.
Pull stuff out of the ring, pull something from the crowds, really utilize your environment to inflict damage or pain on whoever you're playing against.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean,
that's going to be key. And authentic sounds for a game like this. When you're hitting something with somebody with something, that better sound like a light bulb breaking over the head. That better sound like a steel chair hitting them. If violence is your core selling point, I want to feel it. I want to hear it. I don't just want to see it.
You brought up a good point. Like that's something I was not thinking about is the sound.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to be on point when it comes to that. Because that will kill it, man.
It would just immerse you. It would make a key. It's one of those things when you see stuff on TV, like, and you hear the impact of something, you don't just see it, but when you hear it, you then feel it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have something on mute and you see it and you're like, oh, but if you freaking hear that chair hit somebody in the face,
yeah.
Like, you remember the 1998 chair swing from The Rock to Ken Shamrock's face on Monday Night Raw? Bro, I still feel that.
Yo, it was all forehead. He took him up out of here.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, sound is going to be key for that.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, you know what? That makes perfect sense. And it's crazy I didn't think about that, but it's good that you brought that up. Sounds it is going to be the be all end all too. Like that's another thing that we haven't really heard too much of from Ultraviolent. But you know what? What I'm gonna say to you guys, I'm going to attempt to get Gagdol on this podcast. That's what we're gonna try to get every single game developer we can on this podcast exclusively for y'all. But overall, out of the big three, AEW, WWE, well, no, not even big three, big four.
Yeah.
WWE, AEW, Wrestling Code, and Ultraviolence. Which one are you more excited for, or most excited for?
I'm gonna say the Wrestling Code. And the reason I'm going to say that is because this is going to be the first game that's going to be on the next generation of hardware, and they're going to be able to push the limit further than the games that will be releasing on last gen. I feel like they have an opportunity to utilize the power of those consoles to do things that the other games are just not going to be capable of. Mm-hmm. I think visually it's going to look absolutely insane, and I think that they got a lot going for them, being able to put a game out for that hardware. So I'm excited to see what they have to offer.
Okay. For me, it's it's difficult. I'm gonna say it's a tie between the wrestling code and AEW
Yeah.
because one is coming from a developer that I know and love,
Mm.
and spend the money on their,
That's a really good point. That's a
spend
really
the
good
money on
point.
them, and I
Proven
know that
right?
track
Proven
record,
Yeah.
and I know that if they're given the ability, they could pump out something great. And with the
Yeah.
wrestling code, it's because they have the freedom to do what they want.
Yeah.
We have never had a wrestling game where the developer had the freedom to do what they wanted, and it's a passion project. It's not
Yeah.
even something that they have to make. It's something that they're deciding to do on their own. There's no
Right.
publisher. It's just them. They're the
Right.
publisher.
And let's face it, when you're a company like AEW or WWE, you have to have a presence in the video game market. You have to. This is not for a company. This is not for a like a multi-million-dollar machine. This is a group of people putting together a video game because they want to do it.
Yep.
And dude, I'm excited, man. I'm really excited.
Yes. So, guys, what we're going to do right now, we're going to end this podcast here. Let us know in the comment section, what game are you more excited for? Which one do you see as being the game you're going to play more than the others? Let us know in the comment section below. We'll also have a link to our Twitter accounts if you want to get in contact with us, ask us any questions. This is Dre41. This is Sean Styles. And this is the Let's Talk podcast. Thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Later.
Later.